Alright, everybody, welcome back to Major Movies and TV, and today we're going to be talking about the new Hellraiser movie that just came out on Hulu yesterday. I watched it last night, and it was solid. It was good. I liked it. Obviously, there are some critiques that I have about it. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but it's definitely better than most of the Hellraiser movies. So yeah, I really liked it, and we'll talk about why and what happens in the movie. And I'm gonna start out with a non-spoiler review, and then get into spoilers later on. So be ready for that. All right, so this movie stars Jamie Clayton, Odessa Azion, Drew Starkey, Brandon Flynn, Aofi Hins, Goran Visnijic, and Selena Lowe, among other actors. Actually, I wanna know who played the boyfriend there, because he was Adam Faison. Yeah, he's the boyfriend. Jason Lowes as the Chatterer, Nicola Kent. Oh, he's just random paramedic. Hiam Abbas, Serena. Yeah, so I just named off a bunch of actors. I don't know why the boyfriend character isn't like front page on the casting thing, because he's like one of the main characters in the movie. He's in it more than Brandon Flynn. And alright, well, we'll talk about that in spoilers, I guess. So this movie, very gory. Well, actually, you know what's crazy? Like, this movie is violent, this movie is gory, but it's not nearly as gory as I thought it would be. Like, not even close to what I thought it was. Like maybe I'm just desensitized, but honestly, I didn't think this was that bad. Like, it really wasn't. Like, I was expecting, like, torture porn level movie, and it wasn't. There was some, like, dark imagery, and, like, some weird things happen, and it's kind of gross, maybe, but nowhere near, like, the level of, like, violence that I thought it was gonna be like. I thought it was gonna be really dark, and honestly, it wasn't even that dark. It was a slasher movie more than anything like Grindhouse or anything like that. It really, and granted, the first Hellraiser wasn't a Grindhouse movie, but I'm just saying, I expected a lot more gore, but they kind of went more with the, like, disturbing ideas of it instead of, like, actual serious gore, I guess. And there is gore in this, a lot of gore. Like, I'm just saying, it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I thought they were gonna, like, really get into it, but for, like, the first, like, most part of the movie, the first, like, act of the movie, you don't even see a lot of people die. You don't. You don't even see the Cenobites till halfway through the movie. Like, in terms of them actually, like, doing things, So, in all reality, like, for the first part of the movie, I was kind of surprised. I'm like, man, they're really hiding a lot of this stuff. Like, they're not really showing it. And I'm like, huh. But it still worked. I'm just saying, like, I actually kind of like that. I was expecting a really gross movie, and it wasn't that. So I'm like, alright, yeah, that's cool. It's dark and sort of demented, but it's not horrible, And I liked it. I liked that balance. So I was happy about that, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it through the whole movie. But in all reality, the other Hellraiser movies weren't that bad. They were gory, but they weren't like Terrifier or Human Centipede levels. Oh God, like nah. I mean, Terrifier I might watch at one point, but some other movies are just bad, like Collector level. But you know, I'm happy it wasn't too crazy with it. There was still a lot of gore though in this movie. Other things I'd like to talk about, the performances were all solid. They weren't amazing Academy Award winning performances here, but they weren't bad. So it was all very passable to good. So that's good. There wasn't anything there I was like, all right, this character's annoying, this character I don't like, or this character is boring. None of that. All the characters were entertaining. It's just some of them were kind of fillery. Like, some of them were kind of just there to die. And I'll explain more in spoilers, but, that kind of sucked. Like, this movie needed a body count, but it didn't want to kill off the main person, so they kind of had to bring people into it and, like, kind of force kills in a way, but not really. Again, I'll explain more in spoilers, but I felt like a lot of deaths in this movie were kind of unnecessary, but we'll get into that. So the performances though were good. Odessa Azion did the best performance as Riley. She pretty much had to carry the movie for the most part, other than Jamie Clayton as Pinhead, who also did really good. So those two definitely high points of the movie. The boyfriend character played by Adam Faison, he was good. I liked his character, but again, he didn't have as much emotion as like the two leads, Jamie Clayton and Odessa. Like, they both were the highlights of the movie acting wise. Oh, also, alright, I gotta give it up to Goran Visnjic, or whatever. He had a good performance playing the rich dude in this movie, and I'll explain more in spoilers again, but he had to go through a lot. Now, granted, he's a bad guy, so he kind of deserved it, but, you feel for that character. So those three right there are the performances to look for in this movie. Other than that, the other performances aren't bad, but the characters are kind of basic. So, now this might just be me, but so I was looking at the actors, their personal things, because I don't know these actors, and I was like, all right, Odessa Azion and Drew Starkey, they play like the boyfriend-girlfriend in this movie. And I just noticed how Odessa is my age, 22, and Drew Starkey is 28. Now, in my mind, I'm like, all right, these two are both adults, so obviously there's nothing wrong with some of the scenes in this movie, but I don't know, as someone, if I was an actor, I would feel kind of weird doing some of the stuff that those two actors had to do with someone who's that much younger than me. Like, if I'm 28 and my co-actress there that's supposed to be my girlfriend is 22, I would feel kind of weird about it. I just hope that they had a good relationship on set as, like, co-workers. I hope it wasn't weird, because they had a lot of sex scenes, a lot of kissing scenes, and granted, yes, they are both adults, so there's nothing wrong with it. I fully understand that, and obviously they both were okay with it, but I'm just like, I hope they had a good relationship, and I hope it wasn't something where Odessa was kind of, like, pushed into doing it, you know what I'm saying? Or, like, felt like she had to do it. Because, like, I don't know. Like, as a guy, I'm just looking at it, I'm like, I would not want to do that with a 22-year-old if I'm almost 30. Like, that's a bit weird to me. I would feel weird about it. So I just hope that she was comfortable doing it at the very least. But that's just something I wanted to bring up, because I was like, I just saw that before I was starting to make the video. I'm like, that's a little odd. And the same thing in, like, Outer Banks, that Netflix TV show where Chase and the Madeline Klein were, like, Madeline Klein was like my age, and then Chase is like 27, which is a little bit better. But again, I was like, huh, like these like I never would have expected that, pretty much. But yeah, obviously that was just something I wanted to bring up. I hope that she felt comfortable doing all that and wasn't something that was kind of like pushed or forced. And obviously not forced, but like you kind of get those vibes sometimes where like someone feels like they have to do something to succeed at something or to get a role or be like, something that they wouldn't feel comfortable with. I don't know how these actors act with each other outside of the movie, but I just felt like that was I hope that it was a good working co-worker relationship. But yeah, alright, getting off of that. So the movie itself, the writing was alright. It was good. I liked it. The dialogue was okay. I liked the relationship between Riley and her brother Matt. Yeah, Matt. And I did like that relationship, even though, alright, I won't spoil it. So yeah, I did enjoy that relationship. He's trying to help his sister out, and make sure she doesn't make stupid decisions. And that's kind of like the basis of the movie, is decision making and making the right decisions, That's kind of like the main lesson of the movie, I guess you would say. I do feel like the amount of torture that these characters have to go through in order for Riley to learn a lesson, I feel like the amount of torture did not match the lesson, like you didn't need to go through all this to learn this lesson. There were other things that could have happened, but we'll explain that more in spoilers. Other than that, the gore looked good when that was there. There were some tense scenes. Nothing really scared me. I liked how the Cenobites are definitely more in front. Like they appear throughout the movie, and it's like this haunting type of thing with the main character. I really like how fleshed out the lament configuration is. Like it actually has different levels to it and different shapes, and it actually works like a puzzle box. It's not just you fidgeting with a box like in the older movies. They're just kind of turning it and it's solved. Like, nah, it actually is a puzzle. You see how the puzzle works, and then you solve it, and then a blade pops up and cuts you. And that's another thing I'll get into spoilers with, but I felt like a lot of things in this movie were kind of avoidable, but so that happens. And I like how the Cenobites are portrayed in this movie, how they are like more serious. They don't feel campy. They feel like actual like demons, and then they kind of are like very, they don't run, they walk. They do not run. They're just like, no, I'm walking after you slow as possible, and I'm gonna make you feel scared, and then I will eventually get to you. So that was kind of cool in the movie. I like that. These Cenobites are interesting. I will say with the designs for the new Cenobites, I like how it fits within the movie. I think it's a good idea, making their clothing like their skin essentially. But I will say I feel like there's less personality in this design than the older designs, like actually having clothes on, because, and like the designs in general, it kind of felt like these Cenobites don't have their own specific personalities compared to the older ones, or at least like something's memorable for how they are. You know what I mean? Like in the older movies, the Cenobites were made specifically because of things that happen in the person's life when they before they died. And in this movie, I don't even think the Cenobites are technically dead. They're just people turned into Cenobites. And maybe that's a spoiler, I don't know. But sorry, I guess. But in this movie, I'm not entirely sure if they are undead or whatever. So it's not a spoiler if you don't know why I think that. You know, there you go. So I kind of miss, like, the older Cenobites, like the dude with the CDs in his head and stuff, because it was campy as hell. It was not serious, but it kind of felt more specific to each Cenobite, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, you know, the Cenobites other than Pinhead and maybe Chatterer, I don't think they're really supposed to be, like, iconic, you know, characters. I think they're just supposed to be there. So, you know. This movie was directed by David Bruckner, and I'd say there are a lot of cool shots in this movie. The CGI looked good, and he was really good at hiding things until the point where he really wanted to show everything. So, that was good. There were a lot of, like, off-screen things that actually made you feel like something, you know? Like, you could still, like, or like things in the background happening and that were supposed to be tense, and there wasn't a lot of, like, cheap-looking shots, and there were a lot of, like, really good CGI shots in this movie that I'll go into with spoilers. But other than that, I think that's the most I can go through when it comes to, non-spoilers. So I'm gonna get into spoilers, and yeah, so get ready to be spoiled. If you don't want to be spoiled, go watch the movie on Hulu and then come back and finish this video. Again, I'm about to talk about spoilers, so be ready for that. 1, 2, 3, spoiler time, let's go. Alright, so the movie starts out and we follow Riley. Well, it starts out with a sex scene where Riley and Drew are together at Drew's place. Oh, actually, no, at her place. And then her roommate and her brother and her brother's boyfriend are there. Her brother meets Drew, and then it's awkward, and then stuff like that happens. Riley is an addict, recovering. She's been sober for like 6 months or whatever. And then, but Riley and Matt, her brother, have a lot of fights because Matt is, you know, protective of her and wants to make sure she's okay. And they live together, so there's a lot of issues there. But pretty much what happens is Drew and Riley, they're at Drew's place, and Drew tells her about how these rich people have these crates in the warehouses, and it could be worth something to help them get some money. So he goes in and breaks into the warehouse with Riley, and the only thing there is the lament configuration. So they take that back. They're trying to figure out what it is to maybe sell it. And then Riley gets drunk and goes back to her apartment where Matt is. And Matt is with his boyfriend. And then Riley comes home. Matt hears him. He goes to see Riley and then figures out she's drunk. They get into a fight. And then Matt kicks her out of the house. Riley then, you know, goes out to the streets, and she takes some pills for probably the first time in a while because she's been sober. And she goes out to this playground and starts playing with the box. And the box, when she, you know, figures out the puzzle configuration for the box, the blade pops out to cut her, but it misses her hand. So she's not cut. And then she kind of passes out from the drugs and leaves the box next to her with the blade out. Then what happens is Matt goes looking for her. Matt finds her and goes to help her, but he gets cut on his hand in the process. He goes to the bathroom to wash off the blood and stuff, and then is taken by the Cenobites. And this scene was pretty cool. I liked it. They do a lot of things where, like, they take the real world and then they CGI it and make it into hell. Like this, like, hellish hallway type deal, and it looks pretty cool. So yeah, and then the Cenobites just kind of walk out of it and then take him away with chains and stuff, and then he's gone. Riley wakes up, figures out he's gone, calls the police, and then, they can't find him because he's dead in hell. So now everyone's like fighting with each other, or not really, they're just kind of upset about what's happening. Riley goes back to Drew's place. They try to figure out more about the box. And they find out that the person who owns the warehouse is in, like, this hospital thing. They go see her. And this person is Serena, played by... Serena, played by Hiam Abbas. Quite a name. Hopefully I said it right. But... So they go see Serena, and Serena worked for the rich dude, Roland Voight. Now, Roland, something I forgot to mention about the beginning of the movie, Roland was was someone who was tricking people into opening the Lament configuration for him so that he could get to the final configuration, which is called Leviathan. At the beginning of the movie, he tricks this kid into opening the last configuration. He gets cut. He gets chained up by the Cenobites, which actually was one of those scenes where it's kind of in the background, and you kind of just see him getting hung up by the chains while Roland is, like, making his wish to the Leviathan. And that'll come into play more at the end when I explain more about the story in the end. So that happens, and then all the stuff with Riley and everything happens. But that was a pretty cool scene. I forgot to mention it, but yeah, that was a pretty solid opening kill scene. So at that point, Drew and Riley go see Serena. She explains how the box is bad and that they shouldn't have touched it and they should just leave it. And then Serena tells Drew to get her some water because she's dying. Like, her lungs are, like, having issues. And then Serena tries to take the box. Riley wants it back because she thinks it could help get her brother back. They fight over it, and Serena ends up getting cut by the box. Riley and Drew leave. Serena ends up getting taken by the Cenobites in the hospital. Which, again, was a pretty cool scene where the hospital changes into, like, this hell world. And then, I believe it's a Cenobite known as, like, the Gasp or something. She's, like, a female Cenobite, and she walks through, and when the Cenobites appear to take someone, they literally just slowly walk to you. It's kind of entertaining. It is entertaining, but it's kind of funny. Like, damn, they're not in a rush. They're just gonna walk towards you because they know they'll get you eventually. So yeah, that happens. And what happens when Serena gets taken? There was a pretty cool line said by the Cenobite. She goes, "No. Save your breath for screaming," and then takes her away into hell. I was like, alright, that's a pretty cool line. I like that. But yeah, so that happens. Then, so now they're, like, all trying to figure out more about this box now that they know, Roland Voight was the last holder of the box. So Riley finds out about him, finds his mansion, and then goes to the mansion to find out more. And that's where she finds out more about how the box works and the history of it and the Cenobites that she's been seeing visions of. She's in the house, and then her friends show up, her roommate, her boyfriend's brother, and then her brother's boyfriend. My bad. Wow. Her brother's boyfriend shows up with the roommate and Drew. Unfortunately, I don't remember the brother's boyfriend's name. I don't, for some reason. I don't know why, and it doesn't say it on the cast list there. So my bad. Sorry. Nor do I remember the roommate's name, and I guess that's kind of a negative about the movie, is that some of the characters are just kind of there, unfortunately. But especially the roommate, and we'll get into that. But so what happens is the roommate and Drew are kind of playing around with some of the switches in the house, and they find like this door that opens up this, or she finds this door that opens up this secret room. And then turns out the Voight guy, Roland Voight. Wow, I'm bad with names, just so y'all know. Roland Voight, he's in the tunnel, and he stabs her with the puzzle box that's been solved, and the blade is sticking out. He solved it, the blade sticking out, and he goes in and he literally stabs her in the back with it, and then brings her to this middle room where he sacrificed people to the Cenobites. Riley, Drew, and the boyfriend, or Matt's boyfriend, they find her. They're chasing her through the tunnel, or not through the tunnel, but they're trying to figure out where the tunnel ends. They get to her, and now they're driving out of the building with, the roommate there. I think her name is Nora. Yeah, possibly. I don't know if... Yeah, it's Nora. I'm bad with names, and she wasn't that memorable of a character. I'm sorry. But Nora, yes, so she's being tracked down by the Cenobites now, and they get lost trying to get out of the parking lot, or the driveway of the house. And this is a really cool directed scene, and David Bruckner did this one really well, where they're in a car, but the back of the car turns into the hell world, and the other characters don't see it, but they do, but Nora does, and she's like in this hallway, and that's where the Chatterer appears, and the Cenobites kind of come more into the fold. The Pinhead, he or she or whatever it is, comes out of the wall and is talking to her, and this is a very dark scene for this unfortunately very non-memorable character, where she's being chained up in the air and she's being held there, and Pinhead is like, oh, we can show you so many pleasures, and she takes out a pin out of her head and stabs Nora in the neck with it, and I think she says it's like music, her screams. So yeah, and that's the dark part of this movie. It's not super gory. It is gory, but it's not gory, but it's so dark and masochistic. It's crazy. She's like, oh, this is feelings you've never felt before, and it's massive amounts of pain. So it's all right, you weirdos. But yeah, no, and then what happens is her back gets ripped off of her body, and then it actually happens in real life, but then her body disappears. It's just blood everywhere and she's gone, which I thought was kind of weird. They can't explain it in any other way than the body just kind of explodes, kinda. I don't know. That was kind of weird to me. There can't be a portal or something or anything, the body disintegrates into hell or burns up or something. No, it just kind of it explodes and then it's gone. It's alright, that was, But other than that, that was a really well-directed scene and well-acted by Jamie Clayton as Pinhead. I like how Pinhead is, very, monotone and doesn't care. It's just doing its job. Pinhead is just chilling. So, yeah, I like that. So then they go back to the house. They try to find out more about what's happening. Oh, because they crash their car, and what happens is Pinhead finds Riley and makes Riley cut her hand on the box, and is like, "All right, it's either you give me 2 more people or I take you." Because with this box, the Pinhead wants Riley to make it to the final configuration so she can get her wish, but it's either Riley kills 2 more people, because every level you go up, you have to sacrifice someone for the box to change to the next level, and there are like 6 levels. So yeah, that's kind of a cool backstory for the box. Like, there's this process, and once you start it, the Cenobites kind of make you finish it. So, and you either gotta kill other people or you gotta kill yourself, essentially. Which I felt was kind of weird, because, like, say she's just like, no, I'm not gonna do it, just take me. Who finishes I guess maybe it just goes back to Lament, but I don't know. That was kind of weird to me. And, like, what if someone's being tracked down by the Cenobites and they just kill themselves first before the Cenobites get to them? Because the Cenobites are slow as hell. They don't come right away. So, like, what if you're like, alright, I know I'm fucked and I just shoot myself in the head? Well, then you're dead. The Cenobites can't take you. That was something else I thought of while watching this movie. I'm like, alright, just kill yourself at this point. Like, just shoot yourself. And then, but no. So, and that happens. So they go back to the rich guy's house, and they figure out that the rich guy built these certain metal walls around the house to keep the Cenobites out, because Cenobites apparently can't go through certain metal bars or whatever. Don't know why, but I feel like that's just kind of a plot thing that they had to keep in to make the Cenobites a little bit less overpowered. So then the dude is like, Roland Voight, the rich guy, he's like, I felt every sensation. I had so much power and feeling, and I just wanted to see if there was anything more. So I wished for sensation, which is one of the 6 options that the Cenobites give you as a wish once you get to the last configuration of the box. So he's like, I asked for sensation, and pretty much what's going on is he has this machine inside of his body, and it just pulls on his nerves to keep him from going numb. So he always feels, and it hurts him every couple seconds, because it's literally like cycling through his nerves. It's like that part's kind of fucked up. I like that. I like that idea, and it was kind of gross. I kind of wish that they went more into what the other wishes are, but they only go through 2 of them, or 3 of them technically. So yeah, that was that. I do like how the Cenobites have their own rules though, and they're not just killers. They just kind of have these rules, and if you don't mess with the box, then you're good. Like, they're not gonna go after random people, essentially, unless you get in the way of them getting to their mark. So the Cenobites are all like standing outside. They're just standing there at this house, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And they get this idea to well, all right. Let me talk about this scene before they get into the house, actually, where Chatterer, pretty much Chatterer's chasing after the Riley and Drew, and he gets them pinned down. But what happens is Riley, the Chatterer bites Drew's arm, and while he's doing that, Riley stabs the Chatterer with the box blade, and it actually works. Like, they figure out that the Cenobites can also be sacrificed. I found it funny how Chatterer, he's just kind of like acceptant of it he's like, oh, I got stabbed, and then he backs up, he puts his arms in the air, and just like he gets ripped apart by chains. Pinhead rips him apart. So I was like, all right, he accepted it, and that's how they get away and get back into the house, and then they figure out that Cenobites can also be sacrificed to the Lament configuration. And that's what makes me think that they're not dead in this version of it. Like in the original version, dead people got turned into Cenobites. At least in the third movie, I think it was. So, in this movie, you're alive and you get turned into a Cenobite. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I'm like, alright, so when a Cenobite dies by another Cenobite, does it go to hell? Like, where does it go? And I'm just kind of like confused about that, but, you know, they didn't explain that part of it. So they get back into the house, they close it down. The Cenobites are all standing out there just waiting because they can't go into the house. And then what happens is they get the idea to lure one of the Cenobites into the house in order to stab it, in order to get another sacrifice, because now they know that the Cenobites can be sacrificed. And so what they do is they lure it in, and then Drew is supposed to close the gate on it, but something happens where Riley trips, and one of the gates in the house closes on the Cenobite and like locks it, but also locks Riley into the room. So now they can't open the gate to let Riley out because the Cenobite will kill her, because the gates have literally closed on the Cenobite. So that happens, and the box is now with Roland Voight. So Roland is what he does is he stabs the brother's boyfriend there, Matt's boyfriend, and sacrifices him as the last sacrifice, which he could have just sacrificed the Cenobite. Even Drew was like, yo, you didn't have to do that. Like, you could have stabbed the other Cenobite. It would have been fine. They only needed one more, and he's like, no, I'm just stabbing him. And I'm like, oh my god, that was stupid. Like, I get it, you're evil, but like, you're not really that evil. Like, you're just stupid. Like, you could have just stabbed the Cenobite that was right there. Like, it's trapped. It can't do anything to you, so just stab it. It'll die, and then you still get your wish. So I'm like, I don't know. But so that happens. But the Cenobites cannot get to Matt's boyfriend because they're stuck behind the wall. And then what happens is it's revealed that Drew has been working for Roland the whole time. That Drew brought out the box on purpose. He didn't expect Riley to get involved with it, but he's the one that he wanted the box because he was paid by Roland Voight to go get it. So that is that reveal. It's revealed that he betrays Riley. And then he's not evil, but he's working with the evil guy. And that's important for later. Drew then opens the gates to let all the Cenobites in. Riley and Matt's boyfriend all run off. Riley ends up getting the box. Matt's boyfriend goes into this underground area, and the Cenobites have been chasing him. And this Cenobite that uses like barbed wire, she like wraps the boyfriend in barbed wire. I'm like, oh my god. And one thing I noticed, these characters are like superhuman because they go through so much and they don't even cry. I'm like, yo, I'd be crying if I got wrapped in barbed wire and I was just being hung there by barbed wire, and these dudes are just like, ow, ow, ow. I'm like, yo, dog, like, are you superhuman? Like, come on, show some emotion. Like, you're being violently tortured and you're not even crying. It's kind of weird. So I'm like, all right, like, I get it, you're screaming, you're in pain, but like, yo, you're being tortured. And I guess that's a thing with like all horror movies, but these guys are like superhumans, I swear. So Riley goes down to help Matt's boyfriend because, you know, she likes him, not romantically, but like, you know, they're friends. And then Drew comes down and Riley's like, oh, you know, how could you betray me? And then she's like, oh, I hold the box. I can sacrifice another person for you to the Cenobite that's holding Matt's boyfriend hostage. And then she stabs Drew and sacrifices him to the Cenobites instead. So that works. Matt's boyfriend is fucked up, but he is able to escape. Roland Voight, I don't know why I keep thinking Daniel. Roland Voight, he makes a second wish. Well, he can't unwish a wish, but he can exchange it for something else. So he exchanges sensation for power, and he's brought up into this Leviathan that has come down on top of his house. Pinhead explains to him, he's like, you cannot unwish, you cannot unmake a choice, you must exchange, you cannot take back, ungift a gift, you can only exchange it for another. So he has to exchange it for power instead of sensation, and he gets brought up into the Leviathan that is now on top of his house. And then Riley shows up. She's talking to Pinhead, and she's like, no, I don't want my gift. I don't want a gift. I just want to be left alone. I don't want... Because the whole movie, she's trying to get her brother back using resurrection. And then she's like, I've seen your gifts. They're not what they seem to be, and I just want to be left alone at this point. I don't want my brother back. So Pinhead is like, well then, you will live a life full of regret, knowing everything you've done is for nothing. And I kind of like that idea. And she's like, you have chosen the lament configuration. And it actually, that was cool. The box turned all the way back to the beginning, and no, the Cenobites leave. They don't go after her. They don't do anything because the torture of going through all of this for essentially nothing and sacrificing people for nothing is enough for them. The Cenobites are like, all right, well, you're just going to live in torture for the rest of your life. So I kind of like that idea. I like that there's a way to stop them. You know, once you get to the end, you can be like, no, I don't want anything, you know, I don't want this. And they'll actually leave you alone. I like that idea. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, all the effects in this movie look really good. All the direction was good. The characters, some of them were not very memorable or exciting. Some of the twists in the movie, I didn't expect Drew to be evil. Or not evil, but like to be working with Roland Voight. So that twist was kind of unexpected, but I don't know if I really liked it that much. It was okay. I guess it drove the plot forward. But yeah, so there's that. The Cenobites all were really cool. I really liked the performances. Other than that, this was a solid movie. I liked the ending. You know, they actually make it out alive, and they are able to move on with their lives. So I like that. And I like the idea of choices, you know, making better choices for your life being like the main like lesson of the movie. But again, I don't feel like, you know, being tortured by Cenobites and having your loved ones die is, you know, super necessary to learn that lesson. Just saying. But yeah, other than that, I feel like this can really bring the franchise into the more modern audiences, the younger characters, you know. I feel like this could really do well with my generation of people, you know, bringing Hellraiser to the future. So yeah, I really liked it, and I highly suggest checking it out. If you have your own thoughts on the movie, leave them in the comments below, and have a good day.